All right, we're here. So, new audio setup, fun fact. This is going to be for the near future. Once again, we'll probably find the next destination for sure will be finite. That will be for a significant period of time. But enough about the audio situation. Let's talk about movies. That's what this channel is for. So, I have an interesting position on the Halloween revival franchise that's been going on since 2018, helmed by David Gordon Green, the director, and Danny McBride, his writing co-partner. And my interesting position is that I think it really sucks. Halloween 2018 was bad, and I didn't like it at all. I gave it a 2 out of 10. Halloween Kills is maybe one of the worst horror films ever. It is so over the top. The melodramatics in that film are awful. All of the people are horrible. It's just a disgusting movie. Very flat, very bland. Terrible film. So when I see that the film on the docket for this week is Halloween Ends, I'm ready to indulge in an absolute poop fest, if you will, because I don't want to get demonetized. And I get there and I'm excited. And guess what? I am one of only 4 people in the theater, and I'm all the way in the back. Everyone else is all the way in the front, so I can get down however I want, throwing my tomatoes at the screen. Stop. Hold on a second. Halloween Ends is good? I know, if you were to talk to me 3 hours ago, I would also not believe what just came out of my mouth, but I am here to be the prophet, to tell you that Halloween Ends is actually a solid film, completely to my surprise. And the reason why it's a solid film to me is it has absolutely nothing to do with its predecessors. It is a completely unique entity that tackles way different subjects, and also just on the surface level of filming style, you would not be able to tell that this is a David Gordon Green film. David Gordon Green films are melodramatic, they're bland, and technically they're just nothing. They're just generic and boring and dull. The sound. So first of all, this film starts off with an incredible opening scene that is for the history books. It is that good. And what makes it so good is not only the acting and not only the story that's vastly improved over Kills and the 2018 film, but the sound design is crisp and penetrative, and it's penetrating, and it's so visceral almost. It's insane. The way in which the cinematography is framed, and not just a bunch of random medium shots to wide shots. It actually uses its environment to frame the shots and increase the fear. It's exactly what the original Halloween would have done. It feels like it's actually connected to the heart of this franchise. And the twist at the end of the first scene is just, it's insane. It's so good. And that set me up. And then, of course, we'll get into it later, but right after, the momentum is completely taken out with a Laurie Strode monologue. We'll get there, but that opening scene is insanely good. The other reason why this really doesn't feel like a David Gordon Green film is because the way in which commentary about certain issues is handled and the symbolism of certain things is handled is infinitely better than Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills has some of the most heavy-handed, almost slapstick-ish commentary on mob mentality. It's horrible, it's awful, and it made me laugh multiple times, and also just made me enraged at how dumb and surface level and absolutely pointless it was. There's a lot of good talking points here about broken people interacting with broken people and how far one can get pushed in society to a point where there's just no return. You know what I mean? There's so many interesting things to be said here, and it's all handled well. And the only difference between this film and the previous two is that there are 2 new members on the writing staff whose names I will put on screen because I do not remember them at the current moment. So shout out to them, I guess, because they are the only people that I could think of that would make the difference in being able to tackle deeper subjects in a more meaningful and a potent way. And finally, I will also give props to Andy Matichek and Rohan Campbell for their performances in this movie. I can't really go into depth about it without spoiling the film, kind of, but really, really, really good performances, very believable, very intense, very non-campy, which was my problem with the previous Halloween films, is they seemed like they were trying to come off as campy while also simultaneously trying to be serious. And without Judy Greer here in this movie, I was kind of worried that we wouldn't have someone to carry this film in the acting department, but those two really stepped up to the plate and nailed their parts to a T. Alas, the problem with Halloween Ends, to bring me down from that high of excitement, is that it is a David Gordon Green film, and unfortunately his fingerprints can be seen all over this movie to its intense detriment. First of all, the dialogue is just so bad. At some points, I can't tell whether it's the performances really hindering the dialogue or vice versa. And now that I've seen two good performances in this franchise, 3 if you include Judy Greer in the last film, you can 100% tell that it is the former. It is the dialogue hindering the performances. It's just so melodramatic and so campy in not a good way. This is a franchise that you can approach in a campy manner, but there has to be a balance there, and David Gordon Green doesn't even know what the word balance really means. Another negative about this movie that, again, I don't like to be this guy. I really don't, but at some point we're going to have to admit to ourselves that Jamie Lee Curtis is kind of a fluke. She is so bad in this. She's constantly just over emoting to the point where it's laughable. Frankly, her performance is laughable in this for the most parts. There'll be certain moments where she comes off as genuine and you're like, oh, maybe there's a spark there, maybe it's transitioning, and then she will just go back to that groaning, hobbling mess of blubbering nothingness that has plagued this entire series. And finally, kind of circling back around to the melodramatic nature of Gordon Green's dialogue, it also does translate over to the actual technical elements of the film. Oh my god, the slow motion is the worst. It's so out of place in this raw environment of Halloween. It's like Zack Snyder took a hack at whatever the heck was going on here. It's pointless, it's out of character, and it does plague a lot of very intense, serious scenes that would be taken more seriously if they wouldn't include the really kind of, and I'll say it, not great score and very blatantly over the top cinematography. Taking all of those things into account, though, the film does, for me, equate out to a net positive, which is something that I wouldn't have ever been able to imagine about a film in this reboot Halloween revival Halloween franchise thing. It's not a reboot because, time has progressed, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I am going to give Halloween Ends a 6 out of 10. I really enjoyed it way more than that rating is giving credit for, but I do have to acknowledge its weaknesses because they're bountiful and they are very present. Also, surprisingly, I would endorse the theater trip to go see this, especially if you have a group of friends to go see this with around Halloween. I just have to imagine that would be an incredibly fun time. I was so excited seeing the killings happen for a specific reason. Again, don't want to give it away because of spoilers, but this one really got me going, excited, kind of just fist pumping in the back of the theater like a maniac. I can't imagine how fun that would be with a group of people that share that enthusiasm. So yeah, super, super fun film. Does have its drawbacks, but overall, I liked it. So that's it for this review. I hope you're having a wonderful day. There will be an update video on this channel at some point in the next week detailing a second channel that I am going to be launching and the future of the channel and where I'm going to be going and what type of consistency I'm going to be having, because there will be that from here on forth. I promise. All right, I will talk to you in the next one and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.